There was an Apple event October 30th, 2018. Let's do a quick overview of the major themes that occurred. Now, it's important to put this in context because the month before, on September 12th, they also had an Apple event, which in my opinion was horrible. And it was great to see that none of the blunders in that September event occurred again in the October one. It was pretty smooth sailing, very highly polished, and the October event did a good job raising excitement over some quite reasonable product upgrades, which moved the line forward. We'll start off with some numbers. If you're looking in the YouTube video, you'll see here that, or on the blog site, that the sales of iPads exceeded that of all the other notebooks sold worldwide from all the other companies combined in the last year. So they're really dominating this portable space. The presentation started looking at Today at Apple quite off the hop at the start, and the SVP of retail, Angela, gave a really good presentation as always. She called retail Apple's largest product, and they think about architecture as hardware and the experience like software. Most of the presentation focused on Today at Apple, which is a new initiative launched in the last year to help do in-store training for the public. And in the 505 Apple Store locations, the team of 70,000 Apple team members educate 18,000 education sessions per week with Today at Apple, which is a really huge number. And this is all part of that goal of Apple trying to transform the store from being a retail experience to really a cultural icon and gathering place. And I think that this strategy will pay off and is the right path forward. The demo also had some screenshots of the new stores opening around the world. Many were opening in Asian markets and Chinese markets, which is also another prominent theme from this keynote. Something like 50-something% of buyers are new to Mac, and of that, 76% of them are new customers coming from China. And in addition to having shots of new beautiful stores which were opening, they also showed the part of the Apple app for the Today at Apple section, where it targets customers both based off of events near them in the city or based on products they own, which is, I think, a really clever way to increase the scope of this experience. We move on to the next theme, which has been coming up at several Apple presentations, which is on recycling. The last keynote in September talked about moving to 100% recycled tin in manufacturing, and this time they discussed that Apple is going to be using a new alloy, which is 100% recycled aluminum. And this is going to start to use in the new MacBook Air and the new Mac Mini. Now, of course, this is very nice for the environment, but I also suspect that it's even nicer for the cost of the Apple supply chain. And their supply chain really is amazing. When you think about the fact that they can say that something can be ordered today and available next week, and this is a new product which has been reasonably secret and no one knows about it, is, to me, kind of amazing. All right, we'll move into the second part here, talking about the new products, of which the first is the MacBook Air. This got a retinal display, got slightly thinner with 17% less volume, 10% thinner overall, a quarter pound lighter, and of course the new T2 security chip, which I think is an awesome tool, was also added. It can be expanded to 16 gigs of RAM, 1.5 terabyte SSD, and the battery stays the same. We'll move on to the Mac Mini, which was the long-awaited upgrade. Even Tim Cook kind of alluded to this fact when he introduced the product, and they really created a little tiny beast here. It's 5 times faster than before. It encodes HVEC video 30 times faster than before. You can upgrade this tool to 64 gigabytes of memory, 2 terabyte SSD, and it, of course, also has the T2 Apple processor. What they focused a lot on the presentation is how you can use these Mac Minis in ways that people didn't think about Mac Minis before. I think before people often thought of them as cheap or cheaper versions of Mac for desktops, whereas they used lots of examples of it being used in movie studios, music studios, art studios, and machine learning environments. The fact that you can join multiple Mac Minis together, you can use it to offload the processing of your laptop. I initially thought they were joking when they showed this presentation of linking together Mac Minis to create a whole server room. But in fact, this is an actual real picture from Mac Stadium, which is a company with 8,000 Mac Minis daisy-chained together. And we move into the third product, which was the new iPad Pro. And wow, I mean, this is one damn powerful tool. The new iPad Pro is thinner than before. It's got a larger screen, Face ID. The pencil itself clips onto the side, which allows it to charge, and it's always charged when you need it. And the new iPad Pro also allows charging out finally through USB-C, which means that you can charge your iPhone from the iPad, which is finally a great use of this feature that is built into USB-C. There's some really crazy statistics, though, in the processing power of this. When you compare it to the first iPad, it's 1,000 times faster in graphics. Okay, so that's a huge jump. But they also were saying that it's 92% faster than all other portable PCs, which really is a crazy statistic. And to show off the performance of it, they were actually making a lot of comparisons to gaming consoles. And the fact that you can plug in the iPad into a big 5K screen via USB-C also plays into the fact that they're trying to claim this gaming market. They had a screen performance by 2K Games with the NBA 2K19 with some really crazy and amazing renderings, showing 6 million active pixels all at full retinal resolution. In this picture here, we see all the individual fans have all been uniquely rendered. I'm curious to see how gamers actually respond to this product. We also saw a powerful demo from Photoshop, and the new Photoshop runs on the iPad, runs the full Photoshop engine, which means that they actually loaded in a 3 gigabyte Photoshop file, meaning it had an output of 9 by 9 feet when you looked at this image in full size, with 157 layers. And when it was being scrolled through, it was absolutely effortless. It was also has it's a nice UX feature. If you look at, for instance, here, if we look in the video, there's something called a touch modifier. So if you're using a brush, you can then put your thumb on the touch modifier part of the screen, which was a circle, and that would allow you to alter the function of the tool that you're using with the pencil in your other hand. This presentation of the new Adobe Photoshop by Chantal Benson was really brilliantly done. She's a true natural when it comes to product demonstration, and I think we'll probably be seeing more of her in future product demos. And we'll move just now into the presentations in general. As I said in last month's September 12th, 2018 event, that those presentations were very poorly written. They were boring. They all started with heavy technical specifications, with very few actual video demonstrations of the products. There was excessive hyperbole, and overall those presentations pretty much lacked any authenticity. My brother texted me the day before this October event asking if they fired last month's prep team and if we'll have a new group. I think this month, really pulled it off well. The scripts seemed authentic, and they were targeted generally well to the speech style of each presenter, which is so crucial. Special credit really goes to, I think in this case, the presentation of Tom Berger, who's head of Mac product marketing, who gave a keynote very much in his own manner of speech, but it came off as authentic. As I also said, Chantal Benson from Adobe, very good presentation. Of course, Angela and Tim did polished jobs. One place, though, where it didn't work was the script for the MacBook Air product video. Now, I encourage you to go and load up this video. I've linked to it on the blog post. And the script reads exactly like something which was written for Jony Ive. The only problem is that it was not read by Jony Ive. It was read by Laura Mentz. And so as you're listening to this, all that I could keep thinking was, this isn't Jony's voice. They really should have taken an approach to write a script in her unique voice, which built on her vocal strengths and characteristics and cadences. And they definitely are able to do this. For instance, the script for the product video for the iPad Pro, which is also higher up in the presentation, that narrative script introduction has an entirely unique voice for that product introduction, and it works out great. One last thing I wanted to comment on is that the presentations this time were much better, in particular because of the way that they showed the products. The presentation started with a great video. They were very light on the technical specifications, and rather than using static images to show cool things like AR, as I can't believe they actually did in the previous Apple event, this time they finally used video recordings of people using the products, using those features such as AR. And they also focused on videos showing how these products make people's lives better. One place, though, which was kind of a screw up in my opinion, is my brother pointed out that the iPad script and the font used was this very italics, almost Comic Sans looking scrawl. And it's a bit hard to read. And my brother thought it looked unprofessional, but I suspect the reason they went with this is because it has this natural handwriting, printing appearance, and therefore it underscores the fact that this is an iPad and you can use a pencil on it. But the reality is that when you compare this to the font used on all the other slides, which is a very clear to read, I suspect it's probably Apple's own San Francisco font or a Helvetica. The iPad font, for their technical specifications, really looks out of place. And I think it would have been better to stick with the font in the rest of the demonstration. One last comment on user interface. There's a new feature that was released on how to swipe between apps. You can use your finger on the bottom of the iPad Pro to swipe left or right, which will swipe between apps. I think this may be a mistake because in some ways it limits the amount of available space you can now use at your bottom of your own personal app to have some sort of a slider there, because that slider in your app will conflict with the slider effect on the Apple screen itself. And I never thought that this was actually a problem, because you could always use 4 fingers to swipe between apps if you have that feature enabled. And so changing between apps with the swipe of a hand was never a problem for me. Of course, the event, which took place at the Brooklyn Academy of Music, started off really well. They had a good opening song from Leon Bridges, and the reaction on Tim Cook's face was kind of amusing when he first walked out into the theater. It's a big venue. It holds 2,000 people, and he seemed a bit shocked almost at how loud and energized that New York crowd was. So overall, this was a good presentation, reasonable incremental product updates to their different product lines. Fortunately, it was also a very good presentation from the actual script writing perspective and product reveal. And we'll see what comes in the next Apple events this next summer. Hopefully we'll see some new technology, such as I'm really waiting for AR goggles, but I suspect we're still at least 3 years away, maybe, to consumer-facing product in that space.